Welcome to the show, Gearheads.
I'm exhausted.
We just watched a fantastic Formula One Dutch Grand Prix. What a fantastic race. And of course, Max Verstappen wins with his 9th win in a row, tying Sebastian Vettel's all-time record.
Yeah, and there's no
at home.
And there's no luck involved there, is there? I mean, there's absolutely
no.
none.
Yeah, no.
Absolutely not. I mean, you said it in our pre-race show. I mean, we're watching a guy who is head and shoulders above everyone else right now. Yeah, he's got a car that was built around him, but all the great ones do. And if they don't have one, they go to a team that will do one for them. And that's what they do. They dominate. I mean, I really thought Fernando Alonso had a decent shot at Max Verstappen on that last restart for 6 laps or whatever it was. But Max just drove away from him.
Hey,
Very
did you
tough.
see? I loved it. Right the gate, though. Alonso immediately started taking the offline corners. Because it was low speed, even though it was wet and all that. And so I thought, at least there's a shot there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
I tell you what, hats off to those fans to sit through a downpour, 40 minutes of red flag, and they were dancing and having a great time. No sign of the flares that plagued previous editions of the event. Good on all of them. They got what they wanted. Max Verstappen, a new record performance.
Those fans, those Dutch fans, that was during that 45-minute break we had because of the crazy downpour. The fans were awesome. They were fantastic. They were just dancing and partying.
Nobody left.
I don't think I've ever seen fans quite that excited.
Yeah.
I tell you what, tricky condition. I mean, you really saw the best of Formula One there because everybody had the same to deal with, and everybody was making the same strategy calls. Everybody was taking different strategies, but great. I mean, that you just saw the best of Formula One there with everybody.
It was chaotic.
Yeah.
Great driving. I mean, how much contact between cars? We had some minor ones. Sadly, George Russell took a punch that punctured a tire. But, I mean, there were no massive collisions. Poor Logan Sargent went off.
Yeah.
Charles Leclerc had some contact that broke the bottom of the car, and he had to drop out. But, I mean, there was none of the sort of massive chaos you would expect on a track like this in these conditions.
Yeah, you're
well
absolutely
done.
right.
Yeah, crazy. Well, I want to make sure I run down the final order here. Let me see if I can bring that up because we literally just got through with this race. But
I've got it if you don't.
Yeah, go ahead, Bob. Go ahead.
Fernando Alonso is driver of the race. Here we go.
Yeah.
Verstappen gets his 9th consecutive victory, tying the record set by Sebastian Vettel.
Yep.
And here we go. Finishing second, driver of the race in the eyes of the fans, Fernando Alonso. I'm okay with that, but I prefer Liam Lawson.
Yeah, here.
Third, Pierre Gasly gets up on the podium, thanks in large part to a time penalty on Sergio Perez, who sped in the pit lane as he was making up his lap, getting ready for the restart. 4th place for Perez. 5th place, Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. 6th, Hamilton, who was harrying Sainz all the way to the flag. Sainz defended pretty stoutly, I must say. 7th, Lando Norris, who started on the front row. And so all that McLaren had potential to do in this race, sadly, didn't quite happen. How about Alex Albon in the Williams, 8th with some much needed points.
Yeah.
Oscar Piastri, 9th in the second McLaren. So 2 cars in the points is not a bad day for the Papaya boys. 10th, Esteban Ocon, who earned it with a great charge at the end of the race for Alpine. 11th, Lance Stroll in the Aston. 12th, Nico Hulkenberg, salvaging some pride, if no points, for Moneytron Haas. 13th, my driver of the race, Liam Lawson. Under the conditions that he had get his Formula One debut this weekend, he performed beautifully, started 19th, finished 13th. What a star.
Yeah.
14th, Kevin Magnussen has struggled with the car all day long. 15th, Valtteri Bottas. 16th, Yuki Tsunoda, who was penalized during the course of the race and finished behind young Mr. Lawson. 17th, George Russell with a late puncture, but he was competitive all day long. 18th, Zhou Guan Yu, who had a hard impact with the turn 1 fence after running in the worst of the downpour early on. 19th, Charles Leclerc with that damaged Ferrari retired. And Logan Sargent, first car out of the race, finishing 20th. A real shame for the young American who made Q3 in qualifying for the first time this weekend. So much to talk about, so many interesting results. And if you didn't like that race,
go home.
Go watch something else on Sundays.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm with Bob. I know I'm kind of a mate of Liam's because I've almost literally watched him grow up.
Yeah.
But I know his family. I know how pleased they'll be. I've watched his progress. But you don't get to do over a debut, and it doesn't get any better. That was clean. He made no mistakes. He fought all the way. He did 3 different sets of tires. He never run in the dry. Really impressive.
It was his worst debut of his career and his best debut of his career. Because
I said all he has to do is beat Yuki, and that's what he did.
He did, and he
really. That's what he did.
He almost didn't put a foot wrong all weekend.
Put it this way: if I was Ricardo, I wouldn't be pleased with that result.
Exactly. All right, hey, let's go to. We got a call.
And Liam Lawson wasn't happy with his qualifying performance. He was not satisfied. Not being up front. So that's what you want.
He's an interesting guy, interesting young man, because I'm not sure how to read him, and I know you've been really close to him. But hey, let's get the caller in because we got Larry calling in. Larry, where are you calling from?
I'm in Ohio right now for about another hour.
Well, what'd you think of this? What'd you think of the race?
Well, I love it when they race in the wets. I really do, because that's when greatness shows.
Yeah.
I think Fernando Alonso, and I'm a quite biased observer, I'll freely admit, but I don't think anybody in the world racing today is his equal in the wets.
I agree.
I said the same thing.
I'm sorry.
I've said the same thing exactly. I said, surprise, surprise, Alonso finishing second in the rain.
Right, and I really wish they had more laps to try to track down Max Verstappen, because he clearly knows what he's doing in the wets. I would have liked to seen it head-to-head, and maybe, as good as that Aston Martin is, maybe get a little bit better car and get them in the rain and see how it goes in a head-to-head race. Because what he did at Daytona in the 24-hour, in a torrential downpour on the last lap, makes the pass for the win. And that guy knows what he's doing when the raindrops fall, and I think that's where legends are born.
Yeah, I agree.
Larry, thanks for calling, buddy. We got to sneak in. We're getting a shortened show because of the delay, but thanks, Larry. Thanks for listening, too. We really appreciate it. All right, we're going to get a quick break in, and we'll be back right after this.
Hey,
I got to get in 2 live reads here.
Okay.
Okay, we're live on YouTube.
Let's put out
Facebook.
Let's put out that Crawford piece again.
Oh yeah, later on today
for the second half. So in other words, let's talk about F2.
Yeah.
How long is our show tonight?
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, we'll find out in a minute if we're going to stay on SiriusXM for the next 45 minutes. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you check out our interview we did with Liam Lawson just coincidentally 2 weeks ago.
Not coincidentally.
We did not know he was
planned.
Yeah.
He's making a meal.
Yeah, we sat with him for almost 40 minutes.
Yeah, it was good.
Something like that.
Well, I found out he was on holiday in California, which is where his girlfriend's from. So I knew we were on the same time zone. So I just thought, well, okay, let's get him.
Well, and Jonathan, tell everybody while we're on YouTube, on Facebook, how you know him so well.
Oh, because of the Toyota Racing Series. I've known him since he was 15. In fact, the first time I got to know him, he was too young to race in the series. So there was this little blonde fella, very inquisitive, very mindful. And I kept thinking, well, who is this hanger-on? Because he was at every race. And then finally I found out who it was, and he was the Formula Ford and Formula First champion. And he was just not old enough to, and so I finally caught up with him and went, hey man, and he's like, I'm his birthday is February 11th, and so he just missed out by like 5 days on 1 year, and then came in and was teammates with he was teammates with Yuki, but also Joe was there that year, and Marcus Armstrong.
And by the way, you were on board with him, like you were saying, but you were watching him catch Yuki at the end.
Oh yeah,
I know there was a time penalty for Yuki,
but he almost got him.
But he almost got him either way.
Yeah.
The old one more lap and I would have had you. We're coming back, Casey. Is that what you said? Here we go.
Hi guys, this is Pierre Gasly and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
All right, welcome back. Pierre Gasly bringing us back.
How happy was he?
Yeah.
And what a great, of all the stories, what a great story for Alpine who needed that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, we got Chris Medland out at Zandvoort. How's it going, Chris?
It's going all right. I'm waiting to get soaked again. It's going to rain soon.
Yeah, it's fun watching it on TV, really.
That's right.
Yeah, it's
lather, rinse, repeat.
Not fun out here, but yeah, a lot of people are disappearing as well with that delayed race. So Toto Wolff's already gone. I'm going to see if I can try and grab maybe Fred Vasseur. And as you just mentioned, with what happened with Pierre Gasly, let's see if Bruno Faman's around because, I mean, not a bad way to start life as the interim team principal with Gasly's first podium and the team's second this year.
Yeah. I thought you had him there for a second. I thought you were...
No, sorry. No, I'm running.
We were all getting ready then. I thought the famine is over. It was feast.
We have ignition. We have liftoff. 2 cars in the points for Alpine.
Yeah,
so
really good.
Forget what I said this morning about how the team is in a downward spiral.
Chris, I said it to Jonathan during the race. I said I felt bad bashing Ferrari a little bit during the pre-race show talking, but they proved me right. What the heck was that pit stop with no tires?
Well, so from what I understand, and I will try and check this if we do get to speak to Vasseur, I'm not sure if we can get enough time, but from what I understand, that was Leclerc just making the call all on his own, came in without warning them that he was coming in at the end of that lap. So they just had to react as quickly as possible, but they hadn't called him in.
And is it me or has he taken charge of this team? I noticed yesterday in qualifying, he's like, okay, guys, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. And everybody concentrate on the following.
Yeah, pretty much. I think it needs it, doesn't it?
It does need it. It does need it.
Yeah.
Quite a few times when there's been indecision or confusion and it hasn't worked out. So
I don't blame
someone had to take the reins.
Something I didn't, we saw team after team actually not ready with the wet weather tires. And the announcers on the ESPN broadcast went to some great lengths to say, well, you have to get the team organized and they have to get the tires and everybody. Why isn't it on your list of plans in case of certain things happening? Why aren't there 4 intermediate tires waiting near the front of the garage just in case? We knew rain was going to be there. Why weren't the tires right there, whether you use them or not?
You just wouldn't have seen that with Red Bull or somebody else. Hey, let me get a quick message from our sponsor. CrowdStrike presents Driven in 60 as the official cybersecurity partner of the Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula One team. CrowdStrike protects against cyber threats so the team can focus on what matters, their next win. The revolutionary cloud-native unified CrowdStrike Falcon platform harnesses the speed and power of the cloud to protect and defend organizations of all sizes against increasingly complex threats, stopping breaches before they happen. Because on and off the track, the stakes couldn't be higher. A split second can make the difference between victory and defeat. When every second counts, protection shouldn't slow you down. It should fuel your momentum. CrowdStrike, protection at every turn. To learn more and to try CrowdStrike Falcon free today, visit crowdstrike.com/XM. Let's see, guys. Chris, are you still hunting down Mr. Vasseur?
I am. I'm actually lurking at the paddock entrance because I'm not sure if our listeners will know, but here the paddock is split. So instead of everyone being in the same place, the engineering trucks are at one end of the paddock, the end of the circuit, basically. And there's a good 5-minute walk to where the hospitality units are, which is then where the team members are now heading back to. And Mr. Vasseur has just returned to this part of the paddock. He's having a chat with Steve Nielsen from the FIA, and then he is going to speak some Italian to Sky Italia. So I will hover around that to hopefully grab him. But like I said, I'm going to try and keep an eye out for Bruno Faman as well, because, I feel like I bash it sometimes for how they've been going. And you want to give credit where it's due when they have a good result. And today I thought Gasly was excellent as well. That was done on pace. He was quick all the way through. It wasn't like he lucked into it at the end, was it?
No.
Yeah, he had some really decisive passes. He just, stuck it in there. Just fun to watch.
Yeah, some of the other ones impressive today. Albon looked good and ended up in 8th position, a couple of points for the Williams team.
What happened to McLaren?
Yep.
Yeah, that is a good question in all of that mix.
What happened to McLaren?
Yeah. Lando finishing 7th and Ocon finishing 10th. Both drivers dropped down 3 positions. 2 positions for 04.
I think it might have been a case of poorly timed pit stops.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of that going on, and there was chaos in the pit lane.
Yeah.
But it might have been, they were just one lap off, too early or too late.
So with Norris, they were a lap too late, I think, bringing him in. That dropped him back from the high starting position. And he also got jumped by Alonso, didn't he, in that opening few laps when it was wet, but they were on slicks. But they left Piastri out. Piastri stayed on the slick throughout that whole first period, went right to the back, and then became the quickest guy on track. But he was so far down. He actually got back up to 8th where he'd started, but he was way out of it for a spell. So, that's in the end, I think the fact that both scored, though, didn't they? So they salvaged something. They got something out of it when it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, and how about Albon, who did what? 40s? He repitted the first time?
Yeah.
On the tires that weren't supposed to go anywhere within 10 laps of that.
Yeah, that was highly impressive. He's one I do want to grab, actually. He's still in the TV pen chatting away, which shows he's in a good mood. So I'll keep an eye out for him when he comes out of there, because we didn't get him pre-race, and he really is. He's become a bit of a tire whisperer, isn't he? He's done it before. We think about Melbourne last year and some of the strategies they pulled off. Canada this year.
And he's done his reputation a lot of good. There's another one of those Red Bull juniors that we talked about before the show, as they keep piling up talent more than they can use.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
But he's no longer part of the Red Bull setup, so they can't just call on him anymore. I don't know if there's anything that, maybe at the very least, the fact that he used to be part of that setup means if they came knocking, they'd have a bit more sway than, say, a Mercedes coming knocking. But yeah, he's a full-fledged Williams driver now.
When Red Bull did their initial driver search, I'm thinking a decade or more ago, my old colleague Danny Sullivan was in charge of the thing.
Scott Speed.
Scott Speed got picked. John Edwards got picked to go. He was young, so he got to go do karting in Italy. But one of the drivers they did not pick was Patrick Long. Who instantly signed a Porsche factory driver contract. Porsche was lurking to see who the talent were that Red Bull assembled, and you don't want him, we'll take him.
Yeah,
that's how.
Yeah,
that's how you find good guys.
Yeah, Patrick Lawson. I did some commentary with him last weekend in Monza, and we were laughing about the fact that he was the only American to get a factory Porsche drive.
Hey, Chris, I am seeing a comment about Logan Sargent losing hydraulic pressure. Have you heard anything about that?
I haven't yet, but then I also haven't seen anyone from Williams to check if there was anything going on there. Just seen Liam Lawson shooting off out the other end of the paddock, so I think he's off somewhere. Maybe I doubt it's a visit to the stewards, but maybe he's been called for drug testing or something like that. But he's just nipped off, so we'll see if we can grab him when he comes back in. But no, I'll keep an eye on the press releases that the teams send around, because there may be an explanation then for something that happened with Lawson, but nothing that was officially communicated that I saw from the team.
Well, I'm just thinking, I saw the way he just looked despondent on the television pictures, because showing him head down, and if there was nothing causing that, he's got a reason to feel that way, because this was such an opportunity coming into this in 10th, and I know that the race went sideways with all the rain, but still, not where he wanted to be at the end of this race today. And let's face it, anytime you're a rookie, you got to prove yourself, and he's not doing that right now. You know what, guys? We are going to. I'm just looking at. Let's go ahead and do a break. And before we do it, the Speed City F1 post-race show on SiriusXM is brought to you by CrowdStrike. Stop today's most sophisticated cyber attacks at the office, the racetrack, and everywhere in between. Learn more at crowdstrike.com/XM. I'm going to give out the phone number, and we'll be back after this. But the phone number, 512-643-5483. Back after a quick break. Sorry, Casey, I missed the last half of that message. It's all right. I think hopefully that got the message across. Speaking of the message.
Breaks are never quick.
All right, we're still live on the YouTubes and the Facebooks. Let's see.
Wow.
What happened, Chris?
someone nearly pulled a whole camera over and brilliantly saved in the middle of the paddock. Someone was being shouting that a camera was being pulled over, and I think it was a member of the public, and a woman with one hand just saved someone about $100,000.
Yeah, no kidding.
Wow.
That is pretty much what you're talking.
Like one of the television cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah, prop one on a tripod.
Oh, on a tripod.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's the Saudi TV crew. The presenter was stood there reporting. The cameraman or producer tried to run off to do something, and he was still hooked to it somehow, and it was going.
Good luck putting that one on the expense report.
Okay, here's your McLaren. Here's your McLaren report from Andy P. Lots of twists today, and McLaren needed to learn to listen when Lando says it's wet. Heading into worldwide technology raceway to catch IndyCar, so I have to catch you guys on the way to the track. But yeah.
Boy, they've had a tough time with rain all weekend in the St. Louis market.
No kidding.
Horrendous. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, did you see the picture of that storm coming into there? God, that was insane.
Yeah, pretty scary stuff.
Yeah. I waited all day yesterday afternoon for it to come on, and it never did.
Never did, yep.
Yeah, they were having IndyCar practice at 9 o'clock last night.
Yeah, there was something ridiculous in that, and then they're qualifying now for the race at 2:30 Central.
Oh, crazy! I'm just checking Twitter to see if I've seen anything about Williams, about Logan Sargent's hydraulic pressure. Where did you see that, Kevin? Kevin Kelly said that on YouTube. All right, coming back.
Hi, this is Jay Leno from JayLenosGarage.com, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
All right, welcome back. Thank you, Jay Leno, for bringing us back. And we got Chris Medland out at Zandvoort. We're still talking about the Dutch Grand Prix. What a fantastic race. We got to see a little bit of everything this weekend, starting with FP2 when Liam Lawson has to find out in the moment that Daniel Ricciardo has crashed and broken a bone in his hand. And it has been nonstop excitement all weekend, and the race did not disappoint, did it?
No.
Fantastic.
No, not a bit.
And Chris, I'm going to check in with you just before we get too deep in anything else. See where you're at on chasing anybody down.
We are good to go. Fred Varsha's just gone to do his print media session because everyone's trying to cram everything in before they try and catch flights. They just passed me on a scooter and skilled in that in the wet, but he looks unhappy with how his day's panned out, actually, because obviously he was in the frame for points, wasn't he, and then got a couple of those penalties and it dropped him right out of it. But no, I will shout if I can grab anyone, because it might have to get a bit hectic, I think, towards the end of this.
Hey, before I forget, we said it during the break, but we got lucky. We did an interview with Liam Lawson 2 weeks ago.
No luck.
On our Sunday night show. And we have that entire interview up as a podcast and on YouTube. And it was really great because he talks all about
Super Formula.
He talks about his path to Formula One and why he felt at the time lucky that he didn't get thrown in to freeze his seat and get thrown into Formula One. And here he is just killing it.
And I'm sure many out there listening will be going, "Who is this guy? Who's this? Another Kiwi coming?" And the best part about that interview is you get to know him a little bit, and you know it's kind of cool to learn about these new drivers. I hate it when people like Piastri show up and you go, "What's this guy all about?"
Yeah, where'd they come from? So
it's interesting. I think they seem to have very similar personalities. Piastri and Lawson, very downbeat, never give anything away. Maybe that changes as they get their feet on the ground and maybe have some success and show us more of their personality. But both are very much, business-like. They've got that game face on all the time. They're going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And what an opportunity. It's so hard, like I said, to get a debut without pressure. And that's what he's managed to get.
Yeah.
He's carved that out.
Yeah.
And now he's going to go to Monza, I think a track where it'll be a lot more comfortable. And the chances are it's going to be a little bit more of a straightforward proposition, given that the track is. Monza. They're not going to have the fastest car in a straight line, but.
This is big time sport. This is the show. I mean, if you're a rookie making your debut in Major League Baseball, you don't want to get up there and strike out 3 times. You want to get a hit. You want to show that you belong.
Yep.
So, Chris, what is everybody else saying in the paddock about Liam Lawson's debut so far? I mean, I know it's the big part just happened, but what are you hearing?
No, yeah, the sort of early chatter there as we were leaving the media center was highly impressive. Just because just keep it clean in these conditions and with so much chaos. I mean, he won't have done a racing pit stop. He didn't get a lot of practice of that because of the limited time he had in the car. I think he had to do 6 today in the end.
That's pretty impressive.
And not one of them. I mean, it's good practice, isn't it, as well? Yeah. But not one of them went terribly wrong that ruined his race either. So, yeah, a lot of pressure moments, a lot of pressure calls. Well, I'm sure he lent on the team a lot. I'd love to speak to him before we go off air today. And I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for if he does come back into the paddock. But like I said, he ran off somewhere. I'm not sure where. It was an unusual exit. I don't think there's any trouble.
Chris, ask him about his engineer because it was damned if he did, damned if he didn't. But he spoke a lot, reminding him of some of the obvious things. Okay, coming up to the line, first gear, mode 2, mode this. And he was trying not to be condescending because he knew that he was taking on information, and he just did a really good job of saying a lot, but without bugging him.
Yeah, well, that's part of that chemistry.
Absolutely, and it's you've got to think the race engineer has been through it a million times.
Yeah,
knows what he wants from the driver. That will really actually keep the pressure off him. Whereas, I'm sure that Liam will just want all the information he could get, and hopefully it would just mean that nothing's going to slip through the cracks that he would need to remember because he had 36 hours to prepare. It's nothing.
Not ridiculous, huh?
Right. Hey, Chris,
who's 12 races this year?
Who's Lawson's management? Just out of curiosity, is Mark Webber involved?
No,
not as far as I'm aware. I'm not too sure. But,
okay, I just wondered.
He is managed by he's managed by Grant McDonald in New Zealand, who is an ex-journalist, and so he does all the PR side of it. But he pretty much sticks with Red Bull, but he doesn't have a manager per se.
Okay.
The thing that comes to mind again here is
outside of Helmut Marko.
The contrast to the other rookie is Logan Sargent. It's just
there's the writing.
I hate
to
say it, because I want the American to do good. And
by the way, he's part of the Roden. He's sponsored by Roden in New Zealand that makes the cars, Roden cars, and of course, who are now part owners of Carlin. So that's a big story too, because he's heavily backed by the usual sponsors, Giltrap, Quinn, the people who are involved in motorsport in New Zealand. But Roden is his big sponsor for many years. They're also here in Coda this weekend. There's Jacob Douglas is another Kiwi on his way up, also sponsored by Roden. So they've got another one in the pipeline, guys.
Wow. Hey, let's look.
So back. Are the Carlin cars in F2? Are they Roden Carlin?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Let's get back to the race results here. How about that battle at Lewis Hamilton and Carlos Sainz at the very end of the race?
Really cool.
That was good. It was fun, good to watch, and I actually thought Hamilton was going to get Sainz on a couple of those corners.
Needed a couple more laps again, didn't he?
Yeah, just a couple more laps. Yeah. Just one more lap, I would have.
Sainz defended stoutly.
Yes.
But fairly. I thought it was a clean battle.
Yep. Lance Stroll, quiet race down in 11th. And, Nico Hulkenberg, I was thinking the Haas cars, they did better than usual, but there's 3 DNFs below them. So Hulkenberg in 12th and Magnussen in 14th. Yeah. Again, I'm worried about my Americans in Formula One because they just have not looked good lately. And I don't know what's going on. We probably should see if we can reach out to and get Gunther back on the show soon, and because he will tell us what's going on.
Yes, he will. That is the beauty.
Yes. What else, Greenie? What else?
I mean, I'm glad to see Hamilton fighting, like you just mentioned. It's good. He started 13th. He was in the mix. I think they made a mistake with Russell. But looking ahead to Monza, which, let's face it, is a matter of days away. Couldn't be more different, obviously. But it's going to be interesting. I really do think that, I wouldn't say Red Bull aren't going to run away with it, but I think it's going to be closer. I really do. I think McLaren, it depends. This is such an opposite track to this weekend. It's hard to predict. But we're talking straight line speed. We're talking a weekend where Ferrari have to deliver something. but also a place where McLaren inherently with both Ricciardo and Norris have performed well in the last few years. So watch out for McLaren.
I remember who the defending champion is.
What of
Wasn't
Monza?
that a 1-2 last year? Yeah, at Monza, wasn't it? McLaren 1-2.
I think you might be right. Yeah, year before that.
Year before.
Yeah,
Ricciardo beat Norris. Yeah.
I haven't done the math on this yet.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, I haven't done the math on Verstappen. When can he wrap up this championship?
Tomorrow.
I believe Singapore. If things were to go his way, I'll double check that. But I think.
Yeah, I think that.
It was Singapore that is the earliest one.
So
just a sec. I might try and
2 more races.
doorstep someone.
Oh, go ahead.
Or it's all right. I might have. I've been sidestepped very impressively by Oscar Piastri. He needs to go somewhere else, it turns out. I walked one direction, then they turned and walked the other. So I'll get back to trying to drive. Everyone's running around because we're on such tight schedules now. So, I'm going to double check that information, Chris, about when Max can win.
You need to gain some weight so you're more imposing.
I've been having a sound on getting married 2 weeks, so I was told to lose weight.
That's great.
2 weeks.
Ouch.
So the
does that fit
Japanese
into
Grand Prix,
schedule?
not Singapore. It does, yeah. It's between Monza and Singapore. Don't you worry. I made sure it wouldn't clash with the race.
So are you going to do a live report?
Let's talk. What about the honeymoon?
End of the season, annoyingly, but that's when I have to wait for that as well. Wow.
There you go.
Well, let's not forget his fiance works in Formula One also, so that helps.
She does, and I'd say tonight she's doing a much better job than I am, isn't she? Because I haven't grabbed anyone yet, because everyone's going in different directions.
So what is her job?
She's a senior producer for Sky F1. So when anyone watching the ESPN broadcast and sees basically anyone being interviewed or any of the coverage that ESPN takes from Sky Sports,
you weren't kidding.
That's her.
So you weren't kidding. We lost Steve Carell because your wife is better than you.
Yeah, well, they get a very prime spot. There's that too.
That's tough. They've got 80 people there. I'm giving you a hard time.
Both of the above, and they pay a lot more than I pay to get some of the positions they get. I can tell you that as well.
I'm sure that's true.
They have 80
Been
people
down that road before.
and $100 million worth of equipment, and we have Chris and a cell phone and an iRig and a microphone
standing on one leg.
Well, if he has that all-important hat on.
The Speed City hat?
Speed City hat.
Gotta wear that.
That would do it for him. Hey, somebody we haven't talked about, and it's not necessarily good news, is poor Sergio Perez.
Yeah.
Who was doing so well, cleaning up all the doubts about his sure and what's going on. And then he goes and has a self-inflicted wound, like speeding in the pit lane, which I assume was on that lane where he was going around to make up his lap for the restart. But
it was his. Did you see? Actually, he came into the pits just before they red flagged it because he'd gone off at turn 1, and he came in for full wets. And as he came in the pits, he hit the wall because he aquaplaned into the wall.
Oh, that's
because he'd locked up and was aquaplaning. He couldn't slow the car quickly enough,
so he couldn't slow it down.
Yeah, so he was just skidding over the line. It was close, but yeah, that's where he did it. I
saw that. I actually looked away. I'm glad you explained that because I saw right at the very end, and they were talking about it. I didn't realize what had happened. Yeah, saw the wheels locked up.
That's interesting. You remember, and Carlos Sainz, I think it was, came in and he was at the pit speed limit line, and he came across it all locked up and smoke everywhere, and he wound up with some small penalty, but nothing like. Well, I guess it was another 5-second penalty, just like what they gave Checo today. So I don't know. I guess this one just hurt a lot more because it took Checo off the podium.
Yeah.
And because it came late, the confirmation obviously was only once we had a race that restarted. But Pierre Gasly had the same penalty earlier in the race and managed to negate it. Because don't forget, Fernando Alonso as well, slow pit stop with a tyre issue for Aston Martin that kind of kept Gasly in that frame in the middle of the race. So, it was hectic for everyone, wasn't it?
8 seconds pit stop, that was for Alonso. Hey, Chris.
Yeah, it was a surprise, actually. Aston are normally a bit more clinical.
Hey, Chris, have you heard, is Ricciardo going to have surgery for sure on his hand?
Yes, today. I was told it was today.
Today?
He was going there to have a consultation yesterday. And, a team member told me that they hope surgery goes well today. So, yeah, it sounded like they were pushing ahead with that.
So that means Liam will do Monza, and then it's going to be touch and go for Singapore. And with it being so physical, they may just take their time.
Yeah, Singapore surprises me that they're talking about maybe being back for that, to be honest.
I don't see how.
Yeah, that's quick. I mean, I reckon he's going to be best part of 2 weeks in the cast. So that's barely any time between getting out the cast and needing to race at Singapore. And then he's going to make sure his grip strength is back, because obviously his hand will be immobilized for those 2 weeks. I think Qatar's much more realistic because Singapore's so physical. Plus, then you've got Suzuka, which is high speed, like no room for error either. So yeah,
it really takes the air out of his comeback, though, doesn't it? Really does.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, puts him on the back. If he can finish this season well from here, then that's going to be a real feather in his cap. That's going to be very tough for him.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, we pointed out in the pre-race show he's going to Dr. Javier Mir in Barcelona, who is the magician when it comes to putting racers back on their motorcycles or bicycles or cars or whatever they are. So that'll be interesting to see. Of course, we can't speculate about the severity of the injury too, whether he just cracked it or displaced it or what have you.
And
no, it's always hard, isn't it? Because we can ask the question sometimes, but it is someone's personal health, so he's well within his rights if he wanted to go. Well, I'm not going to tell you that. So I'll try not to second to either, because there are people that wrongly reporting at the time that it was his arm that he broke and then his wrist. It's like, just wait till he gets something official.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and
speaking of something official, might be able to get us someone in just a second. In fact, right now, I'm going to try and chase James Vowles down the paddock. James, you said you'd hope to hold on for some points today with Alex's car starting from 4th. Is 8th a result you're happy with, or in all that chaos, do you hope for more?
As always with these things, you tend to get greedy. So if you asked me before the race, you did. 8th place would have been a sterling achievement. During the race, though, on merit, we were there in 6th place. And without a rain cloud, easy to say, 6th would have been ours. Without different circumstances, and it was in our control as well, we could have stopped the car differently on the last pit stop, 1 lap earlier. Again, I think 6th was just about on the card there as well. So we have control over those things, and it's easy to be despondent and disappointed. I'm not. I look at this a very simple situation. We walked away with a car this weekend at a track that doesn't suit us on merit, not just in qualifying, not just in difficult conditions, but adjusting throughout that, and ended up finishing 8th, but with a car with potential for 6th on merit. This wasn't given to us. This wasn't gifted to us. That was hard work of team members, both trackside and at the factory, that have delivered it. And that's something that we have to take solace from. We have to build upon.
Well, just how good was Alex, though, all weekend, really, the way he performed?
Yeah, it's strong. In this race here today, I think for all drivers, certainly for Logan and Alex, through qualifying, you have to remember that near enough none of the laps were the same as they went through. It was continuously changing it. The wind direction's been rotating all weekend long. And again, in the race today, Alex just got his head down and got on with it, despite dropping back after the first series of stops, fought back, used the car pace available to him, didn't make a single mistake in the race. And you saw that wasn't easy. A number of cars, probably half the grid, off at certain points. He never did.
Well, speaking of, I have to bring it on to Logan and his big off. Was that just driver error pushing in those conditions?
No, we can see on the car data. We need to get the car back to understand why. But here's what I can describe. He took an apex curb that he took a number of times Friday, and again a number of times before that lap in the race. On this particular lap, we can see the hydraulic pressure. There's a large impact, and the hydraulic pressure drops to 0. Now that may not describe fully what happened, but to explain how Formula One cars work, your steering systems and a number of systems, gear shifts as well, clutches, work off having hydraulic pressure. Without that, you fundamentally don't have any steering assistance, and that's what happened. He was a passenger from that point onwards. Now, the big question is, why did it fail? What line was he on? Where do we have to understand that? And I can't tell you that as I speak to you here, but he obviously, this happens in milliseconds. You question what happened, and he took the brunt of it in his own shoulders, as he has the nature of doing. We have now just a few days to clear his head and make sure he understands he has the complete backing and support of myself and the team, and we're going to move forward as one. We win as one, we lose as one. There are still points with his name on it. It's time to go and get them.
Yeah, just finally on him then, how do you view this weekend? The positives that he got through to Q3, or the missed opportunities that there was obviously an incident yesterday and then what happened today?
No, I still take the positives out of it. And it's our job to do so. Every single one of us here, I make a number of mistakes a day. I just hide them very well. He has our support, and that support is genuine and provided. So I focus on the fact that he has made some steps in performance of what we're looking for here. Let's bring that all together now.
Thanks, James. And the guys in the studio will tell you I make mistakes all the time too. He said I can believe it.
Tell James we love him.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah.
Great insight. Very, very interesting.
Fantastic. I really like him.
But there you go. You guys had picked up on it, hadn't you? That's why I wanted to frame the question that way. It was a hydraulic issue.
It was one of our listeners. So hey, we got to sneak a quick break in, and we'll be back right after these messages. Nice job, Kevin Kelly. You were all over it. And man, what an interesting management style he's got there. Not interesting.
How lucid is he? He's so interesting to listen to.
Yeah, he is.
I love the way that was real. I love to see real leadership. And that was, no, we move on. We all make mistakes. I make mistakes.
Without hesitation.
Yeah. Without hesitation. And also, if Logan's hearing that in a meeting somewhere, he's going, okay, I got the backing here. And your shoulders don't drop at that point. They go, yeah, I want to work for him.
Yeah.
You know, when he was describing Monza coming up next week, what we have to do is, and I would have bet money what he was going to say is, find out what the hydraulic problem was and fix it. No, he said, we've got to go to our driver and tell him, hey, it's not your fault. We're behind you. Yeah. You're as good as you ever were. This is, that's people management, which is equally important. And the great, team managers, and guys like Ron Dennis, who came in for tremendous praise in the books by Alan Prost and so on. Any good manager in any business, make people feel valued. Be right up front.
I think it's a dying art, Bob. I really do. I think with the pandemic and with the fact that people are remote so much, leadership is getting quelched a little bit, and it's good to see true, human leaders.
Right. Well, don't forget who he learned from as well.
Yes, good
Toto
point.
Wolff at Mercedes, and I think he's taken a lot on board from Toto.
Yeah.
And he's he's so unlike Gunther, except for the fact that you're going to get a straight answer from him just as much as Gunther.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was thinking it's like the coaching trees in college football. You have one great coach, and all of his assistants wind up going off to other places and becoming great coaches. I think that's kind of what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Hello to everyone. This is Gunther Steiner. This is Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
We got to read some of these comments I've seen on YouTube. David Lawrence says, awesome stuff from James Vowles. Great insight, TW says. And spot on, JG. Spot on, Jonathan Green, says David Lawrence, about your comment. And so TW brought up something we were talking about, the broken bone in Perez's hands. It says, if Stroll can suck it up, so can Ricardo. Remember that?
Point. Yeah. But they were very different.
But yes, but it was surprising how fast Stroll was back in the.
Yeah, it was very impressive.
Stroll did both hands too, didn't he?
That's right.
Yeah, both wrists, which I think are a little bit different in terms of the strength you'd lose compared to what Ricardo's going to lose his grip strength, which is going to be important for holding a steering wheel and manipulating it and using switches. Stroll's was his wrists, so it's kind of it was. I'm not saying it was in any way belittling what Stroll did, because I think it's incredible that he came back so quickly, and he was in a lot of pain all the way up to Monaco. He said that's when he felt fully fit. So I never doubt now his desire to race a Formula One car because of the way he started this season. But I think actually very as close as they are within your body, very different injuries.
Yeah, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the big bone. It's not the finger bone, but it's the bone that runs between your wrist and your knuckle in your hand, right? Isn't that one of those big ones?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Right through the palm of your hand.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
That's and you can imagine that where if you were holding a steering wheel now, you can imagine
the strength, the leverage that you try to generate with your grip.
I don't know what the rules are, but I'm sure you could have a local anesthetic put into that for the race.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah,
but
once you get
a doctor
to a
would be
point,
against. Yeah, I'm going to say would be against irritating in that way because you just prolong the injury at that point.
Chris, what's going on? Is it emptying out there? Is it sun's out? What's happening?
Sadly, the sun's not out. There's more dark clouds around. I think we're going to get wet again. But it's kind of emptying out. Everyone's packing up quickly because, as we've said, Monza's next weekend. And not only does the delayed race finish mean everyone's rushing off to flights that they had booked, but it also means that all of the engineers and mechanics and logistics teams that need to pack down these motorhomes and get cars shipped off to Italy are now having to do that very, very quickly. So, Chris,
tell us, our American audience, your schedule. What's your movements from tonight onwards?
So I will stay in Amsterdam tonight because I'll work right up to late tonight on written stuff as well, and try and grab the odd interview with anyone who does hang around beyond the end of the show.
Racer.com.
Thank you very much. Yep.
Motorsport.com.
And then I will. No, Motorsport Magazine.
That's the one.
Oh, sorry.
You can't have me part of another company if they don't pay me.
Exactly it.
That's right.
But so I'll do that tonight, and then I'm going to get myself over to the UK tomorrow. And then I will head to Italy on Wednesday night. I'll record Wheel to Wheel with Mr. John Massengale midweek as well. So, it's hectic. But
so, literally,
it's quite good.
Change your clothes, get the washing done, off we go again.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much.
Jonathan,
I'm smiling.
Does everybody go to Schiphol? Where do you fly out of? Amsterdam?
Either Schiphol or using the Eurostar. You can use the Eurostar train to go from Amsterdam into London, but
you can go.
There's not many direct ones.
London City Airport's a good one too.
It is, but it's from Schiphol, so I am braced for pain tomorrow because anyone who's travelled into Amsterdam basically for this race will be at Schiphol Airport in the morning if they're not on a private flight. And thanks to this horrible thing called Brexit, it's not fun as a Brit trying to get through passport control anymore.
Yes,
and the airport is huge.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Hey, I want to bring up something. One of our listeners, Paul Bryan, he's actually an automotive journalist and who we keep saying we're going to have on the show. He tweeted at us something really interesting. He said, as a veteran, I love the spirit of the Dutch at Zandvoort in Massachusetts and other villages. Families care for and place flowers on the graves of fallen U.S. GIs who died in defense of Holland in World War II. Thank you. I thought that was interesting. It's gotten a lot of play on Twitter. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he's ex-First Cavalry, I think. He's a veteran and proud of it.
Yeah, it's like you were saying, Jonathan. We're talking about the Dutch fans, and that's just a part of that equation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Let's see what else. We've talked about most everybody on the grid, but let me make sure we didn't miss any of today's results. Carlos Sainz for Ferrari. Hey, finishing the top 5 for Ferrari. These days, that's...
that just shows you how far we've gone downhill.
Yeah.
Is that we're celebrating a Ferrari top 5.
Yeah, where does that put them?
Right.
Constructors right now, because...
Yeah.
Sure, they've upended. They're
Ferrari 4th with 2:01. So they're only 14 behind Aston Martin at this point.
Yeah, but they were basically tied coming into this weekend.
Okay.
I think.
Right.
I think almost
Alonso second place, I think, has kind of opened that back up again with what was
with the fast lap point too.
That's right, Alonso.
Now the
fastest
Ferrari
lap.
laps were nothing to write home about.
I've just looked up and we're almost out of time. Just a couple minutes left. Just speaking of constructor standings, of course, Red Bull 540, Mercedes down at 255, Aston Martin 215, and Ferrari 201, and McLaren 111, Alpine at 73. Then it drops off dramatically. But Williams now was tied with Haas. Again, the negative momentum that Haas has. Williams now in sole possession of 7th place with 15 points. Haas with 11. Alfa Romeo closed the gap, I guess, somewhere. Anyway, they have 9. And so...
Yeah.
Pete Gasly.
That's pretty fun battle.
Yep, for sure.
Alfa Romeo, AlphaTauri, Williams, Haas. It's a little scuffle going on down there, which is kind of cool.
Chris, what's that conversation I hear on your mic?
Other people talking, I guess, because it wasn't me. I was just walking past other TV crews. I'm actually heading down to McLaren to see if I can get Andrea Stella to chat about their day, because as you just mentioned with those points, Zach Brown was really hoping for a podium, wasn't he, today? And they looked really quick.
Yeah.
And they've been threatening to get themselves back into that fight with those other top 4 if they can be consistent. And actually, this, as much as they, we said in one of the breaks, I think, that they scored with both cars, so damage limitation, but it's not the sort of result that's going to get them back into that fight quickly. And I'm not expecting them to be particularly strong next weekend, because straight line speed has not been a strength of McLaren's this year. So, this could end up going down as a big missed opportunity. But could have been even bigger missed if we look at how the days panned out for some other drivers.
All right. Well, we're out of time. I want to make sure everybody knows that all of our shows, if you're listening now, you can also hear them as a podcast. You can go to our website, speedcitybroadcast.com. You can see them as YouTube videos because we do a studio stream. And we still throw stuff up on SoundCloud and other places. But coming up, we got Chris and I doing the Wheel to Wheel show on Wednesday. Go to our website to see where you can hear that. And also, of course, next weekend, back at it. Same bat time for us.
Same bat channel.
Same bat channel. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, however you did it. And, thanks, Chris, Jonathan, Bob. We'll do it all again next week.
Don't say throw stuff up. So long, everybody.
Happy trails.